My name is Aurora Fernsby, but everyone calls me Rory. I'm 21, a little lost in life, and still figuring out who I'm supposed to be. I grew up in a small town on the edge of nowhere, the kind of place where secrets fester beneath polite smiles. I've got a sister, Jane, who's 28 and my rock, even if we don't always see eye to eye. My past isn't pretty. Trauma from an assault years ago left me with scars I can't see but always feel, and therapy's been my lifeline. I flinch at loud noises, distrust shadows, and keep most people at arm's length. But nothing could have prepared me for the night I almost didn't make it home. It started with a scream I barely swallowed. I was trapped in the back of John's car, my sister's boyfriend, his hands tight on the wheel as he veered off the main road onto a twisting dirt path through the woods. The headlights flickered over gnarled trees, and my heart slammed against my ribs like it wanted out. I'd trusted him to drive me home after a tense dinner at Jane's place, but then Nico, some guy I didn't even know, popped up from the back seat, his breath hot on my neck as he hissed, "Keep quiet, or this gets worse." I froze, my mind racing back to the Reddit posts I'd found under John's name, the ones where he ranted about fixing me, about making me fear him just to prove some twisted point. I'd thought it was all talk, until now. Hours earlier, I'd been sitting at my desk, the glow of my laptop screen burning my eyes. I wasn't even looking for trouble. John's a journalist, so I Googled him out of curiosity, maybe a little suspicion. He'd always rubbed me the wrong way. Too loud, too intense, the kind of guy who fills a room and leaves no air for anyone else. That's when I stumbled on his Reddit account, JohnD997. The username was lazy, obvious, and it led me to a rabbit hole of posts, hundreds of them spewing venom about Jane's family, about me. My name, Aurora Fernsby, wasn't common enough to mistake, and he'd spilled details only he could know. My therapy, my past, the way I flinched when he yelled at the TV during football games. I scrolled, my stomach churning, until I hit the post that stopped me cold. He wrote about driving me home, but not the way I'd expect. He'd take me on a scenic route, he said, through the country lanes that snake around our town. Dark, empty stretches where no one would hear me scream. He wanted to scare me, to push me to some breaking point, then pull back and play the hero. "She'll see not all men are bad," he typed, like he was some savior and not a creep plotting to toy with my head. I sat there, hands trembling, tears blurring the screen. I screenshotted everything, my chest tight with a panic that wouldn't quite spill over. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. I called Toby first. He's my best friend, a lanky 22-year-old with a mop of brown hair and a knack for hacking anything with a password. We met in high school when he fixed my busted laptop, and he's been my tech wizard ever since. "Rory, this is messed up," he said, his voice crackling through my phone as I sent him the screenshots. "This guy's unhinged. You gotta tell Jane." I hesitated, pacing my tiny apartment, the walls feeling too close. Jane loved John, 2 years deep, and I didn't want to shatter her. But Toby was right. I had to. I waited until Mom and Uncle Rick were free. Mom's a quiet woman, worn down by years of raising us alone after Dad left, and Rick's the gruff, no-nonsense type who'd punch first and ask later. We sat in Mom's kitchen, the air thick with coffee and tension. I laid it all out, the posts, the plan, the screenshots. Mom's face paled, her hands clutching her mug like it'd anchor her. "He wrote this about you?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Rick slammed a fist on the table, his jaw tight. "That bastard's done. We tell Jane when she's back from her trip." I nodded, but dread coiled in my gut. Jane wouldn't believe me. Not at first. 2 days later, Jane walked through Mom's door, her suitcase thudding on the floor. She looked tired from her work trip, but her smile faded when she saw us waiting. "What's going on?" she asked, her eyes darting between us. I took a deep breath and showed her everything. She scrolled in silence, her face a mask I couldn't read. Then she snapped, "This is ridiculous, Rory. He's just venting. You're overreacting because of your past." Her words hit like a slap, and I felt my throat tighten. Mom stepped in, voice firm. "Jane, this isn't normal. He's planning to hurt her." Rick growled, "He's a coward hiding behind a keyboard." But Jane shook her head, tears welling up. "You don't know him like I do. He'd never—" She stopped, storming out before I could argue. I stood there numb, the room spinning. Jane was my sister, my protector, and now she was choosing him over me. I texted Toby, my fingers shaking. She didn't believe me. "What now?" He replied fast. "I'm digging deeper. This guy's not clean. Give me a day." I didn't sleep that night, the pre-panic attack feeling clawing at my chest. Racing heart, shallow breaths, but no release. I kept seeing John's face, his smug grin, and those words on the screen. The next morning, Toby called. "Rory, you're not gonna believe this. John's been messaging some dude, NV996. They're planning something bigger than a joyride. I found encrypted emails. I'm cracking them now." My blood ran cold. "Who's NV996? I asked, voice barely a whisper. "Dunno yet," he said, "but they're talking about you and someone else. A woman named Elena." I didn't know any Elena, but the name stuck, sharp and ominous. That afternoon, I met her by accident. I dropped my phone outside Jane's house, still reeling from our fight, when a woman picked it up. She was older, maybe 27, Latina, with dark eyes that held a quiet strength. "You okay?" she asked, handing it back. My screen was still open to John's Reddit, and her gaze flickered to it. "NV1996, she muttered, her face hardening. "You know that name?" I asked, startled. She nodded, her voice low. "Yeah, Nico Volkov. He's my past coming back to haunt me." We ended up at a diner, swapping stories over lukewarm coffee. Elena Morales was a lawyer, new in town, running from a nightmare. 10 years ago, her ex, Nico, raped her while she was unconscious from heart meds mixed with wine. She'd broken up with him, but he'd hooked up with her best friend Angie, and she'd cut them all off. Now, someone, Nico, she guessed, was blackmailing her with old photos, threatening her career. "He's here," she said, her hands steady but her eyes wild. "And if he's with John, we're both in trouble." Toby's next call confirmed it. "Rory, Elena, John and Nico are tight. Those emails, they're plotting to grab you, Rory, to shut Elena up. Nico's got dirt on her and John's obsessed with you. They're meeting tonight." My knees buckled, but Elena grabbed my arm. "We're not waiting to be victims," she said, fierce. "We need help." That's when she called Detective Mara Klein. Mara was a force, mid-30s, all sharp edges and no patience. She'd investigated Nico years ago for something shady, but couldn't pin him. "You've got no hard proof," she said, arms crossed in her cluttered office. "But I'll tail you unofficially. If they move, I'm there." Toby chimed in. "I've got John's phone pinging. He's at Jane's now." My stomach dropped. I'd told John I'd be over for dinner, to patch things up with Jane. It was the perfect trap. We planned fast. I'd go, let John drive me home, and Elena and Mara would follow. Toby rigged my phone with a tracker and a live stream, just in case. At Jane's, the air was thick with unspoken words. She barely looked at me, her eyes fixed on the floor as she stirred a pot of spaghetti sauce that filled the kitchen with a tangy smell I usually loved. Tonight, it turned my stomach. John was all smiles, too eager, leaning against the counter with a beer in hand. "Need a ride home, Rory?" he asked, keys jingling like a taunt. I nodded, my mouth dry as sandpaper, and slid into his car, the leather seat cold against my legs. My heart thudded so loud I swore he could hear it, but I forced a tight smile, playing the part. The engine growled to life, and we pulled away from Jane's little yellow house. She waved from the porch, her silhouette shrinking in the rearview mirror, oblivious to the storm brewing. John flicked on the radio, some old rock song blaring through the speakers, and tapped the wheel like nothing was wrong. I clutched my phone in my lap, the screen dark but alive with Toby's tech magic. Elena and Mara were out there, tailing us in Mara's beat-up SUV, and I clung to that thought like a lifeline. Still, every mile stretched my nerves thinner, the town lights fading behind us. "Nice night, huh?" John said, his voice casual but edged with something I couldn't place. I glanced at him, his jaw tight, his eyes darting to the side mirror more than they should. "Yeah," I mumbled, my fingers brushing the door handle, testing it. Locked. My breath hitched, but I kept my face blank. Then he turned off the main road, tires crunching onto a gravel path that wound into the woods. "Thought we'd take the scenic route," he said, grinning, his teeth catching the dashboard light. My pulse spiked, memories of his Reddit post flashing. Those country lanes, his plan to scare me. This was it. Before I could react, the back door clicked open and a shadow unfolded from the trunk space. "Nico!" I yelped, scrambling against the seat as he leaned forward, his breath sour with whiskey. "Surprise, princess," he sneered, his dark eyes glinting. I'd never met him, but Elena's voice echoed in my head. Nico Volkov, her nightmare. "What the hell?" I started, but John cut me off, his voice sharp now. "Shut up, Rory. This is bigger than you." Nico chuckled, low and mean. "She's the bait, Johnny. Elena's the prize." My mind spun, panic clawing up my throat. "Bait? Elena?" I pressed my phone harder into my palm, praying the live stream was rolling. Jane doesn't know, does she? I rasped, stalling. John's grin vanished, his hands tightening on the wheel. Jane's too soft. She'd never get it. Nico leaned closer, his fingers brushing my hair, and I flinched hard. Don't touch me, I snapped, shoving his hand away. He laughed, but there was no humor in it, just malice. Headlights flared behind us, cutting through the dark. Mara's SUV. Relief surged, but it died fast. John floored the gas, the car lurching forward. They're on to us, Nico growled, twisting to look back. Branches scraped the windows as we barreled deeper into the woods, the path narrowing. I gripped the seat, my body jolting with every bump, fear and fury warring inside me. Let me out, I shouted, banging the door. John ignored me, his face a mask of focus, but Nico grabbed my arm, his grip bruising. You're not going anywhere. Then a new sound, tires on gravel, closer now. Not just Mara's SUV. Another vehicle roared up, a sleek black sedan cutting through the trees on our left. My heart sank. More of them? The sedan swerved, blocking John's path, and he slammed the brakes, cursing as we skidded to a stop. Dust clouded the air, and through the haze, a woman stepped out. Tall, blonde, her face hard as steel. Lydia Volkov, Nico's sister. I'd seen her name in Toby's email digs. She was the bank clerk who'd been covering Nico's tracks, moving money, hiding dirt. You idiots, Lydia snapped, her heels clicking as she approached. You're screwing this up. Nico shoved the door open, dragging me out with him. I stumbled, the cold night air biting my skin, and Lydia's eyes locked on me, calculating like I was a pawn she could trade. She's the leverage, Nico said, yanking me closer. Elena's following, and we've got her photos ready to tank her. Lydia smirked, pulling a flash drive from her coat. Good, but we've got company. Mara's SUV screeched up, and she leapt out, gun drawn. Hands off her, Volkov, she barked, her voice steady despite the chaos. Elena was right behind her, her face pale but fierce, a tire iron clutched in her hands. Nico, you're done, she spat, stepping forward. Lydia laughed, sharp and cold. Cute, but you're too late. She waved the flash drive. One click, and your career's ash, Morales. I twisted in Nico's grip, desperation surging. Toby, now, I yelled, hoping he'd hear through the phone still in my pocket. A beat later, my screen lit up, the live stream humming. Jane's face popped up, wide-eyed, watching from home. Rory, what's happening? Her voice crackled, panicked. Nico froze, and I seized the moment, stomping his foot and wrenching free. I bolted toward Elena, but Lydia lunged, grabbing my hair. Not so fast, she hissed, pulling me back. Then chaos erupted. Mara fired a warning shot, the crack splitting the night. Nico tackled her, and they hit the ground, grappling. Elena swung the tire iron, catching Lydia's arm. She yelped, dropping the flash drive. I dove for it, my fingers closing around the cold metal as John revved the car, aiming straight for us. Rory, move, Elena screamed, shoving me aside. The bumper missed me by inches, and John swerved, crashing into a tree with a sickening crunch. I scrambled up, clutching the drive, my breath ragged. Mara had Nico pinned, cuffs clicking around his wrists. Lydia cradled her arm, glaring as Elena stood over her, tire iron raised. Stay down, Elena said, her voice trembling with rage. John slumped in the wrecked car, groaning, blood trickling from his forehead. Sirens wailed in the distance, backup finally. Jane's voice cut through the phone again, sobbing. Rory, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I looked at the screen, her tear-streaked face breaking something in me. Just get here, I whispered, my own tears spilling. Elena knelt beside me, her hand on my shoulder, solid and warm. We're okay, she said, though her eyes were haunted. Mara hauled Nico to his feet, her expression grim. You're all done, she muttered, shoving him toward her SUV. But it wasn't over. As the cops swarmed in, a new figure emerged from the shadows. A wiry guy in a hoodie, maybe 25, with a smirk that sent chills down my spine. Nice show, he said, clapping slowly. Name's Vince, worked with John at the paper. He promised me a cut if I kept quiet. My stomach dropped. Another player? Mara spun, gun up. Hands where I can see 'em. Vince raised his palms, still grinning. Relax, lady. I'm just the cleanup crew. But you missed something. He nodded at Lydia, who was slipping a phone from her pocket, typing fast. She's sending it, I yelled, lunging at her. Elena beat me there, smashing the phone with the tire iron. Lydia shrieked, but it was too late. The screen was dead. Vince shrugged. Guess that's that. Mara grabbed him, cuffing him as he laughed, low and eerie. You think this ends here? John's got fans. They'll pick up where he left off. The words hung heavy as the cops took over, lights flashing red and blue across the trees. Jane arrived, running to me, her arms wrapping tight. I should have listened, she choked out. I hugged her back, too tired to fight. Elena stood with Mara, watching Vince and the Volkovs get loaded into cars. Toby's voice buzzed through my phone. Rory, you're a badass. Streams viral. I almost laughed, the absurdity hitting me. We weren't safe yet, not with Vince's warning ringing in my ears. But as I stood there, Elena beside me, Jane clinging to me, I felt a flicker of strength. We'd faced the dark and lived. Maybe that was enough for now. Jane's arms were still around me, her tears soaking my shoulder. But I couldn't relax. Not with Vince's smirk burned into my mind, his words looping like a broken record. John's got fans. They'll pick up where he left off. The cops were everywhere now, their radios crackling, flashlights slicing through the dark woods. Nico glared from the back of a squad car, his face a mask of fury, while Lydia sat in another, her blonde hair tangled, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. Vince, though, he just leaned against Mara's SUV, hands cuffed, grinning like he'd won something. I shivered, the night air sharp against my sweat-damp skin. Elena stepped closer, her breath visible in the cold. You okay? She asked, her voice soft but steady, the tire iron still dangling from her hand. I nodded, though my chest felt like it'd crack open any second. Yeah, you? She gave a tight smile, her eyes flicking to Nico. Better now he's in cuffs. But that guy... She nodded at Vince. He's trouble. Mara overheard, stomping over with a scowl. He's a nobody, just some punk John roped in. We'll sweat him out at the station. But her tone wavered, and I saw the doubt in her eyes. She didn't believe it was that simple either. Jane pulled back, wiping her face. Rory, I swear I didn't know. He was so normal with me. Her voice broke, and I wanted to comfort her, but anger simmered under my skin. He wrote about me, Jane. Planned this. How'd you miss it? She flinched, hugging herself. I don't know, He said he loved me. I sighed, too drained to push it. We'll figure it out later. Let's just get out of here. Toby's voice crackled through my phone, still in my pocket. Rory, you're trending. Like, everywhere. People are freaking out over the stream. I pulled it out, the screen glowing with notifications. Hundreds, thousands maybe. Comments flooded in. Holy shit, this is real? Get that creep. Rory's a hero. My hands shook as I muted it, the attention overwhelming. Turn it off, I muttered, shoving it at Elena. She frowned but did it, her fingers brushing mine, grounding me for a second. Mara waved us over. You three need to come to the station. Statements, paperwork, fun stuff. Her sarcasm didn't hide the exhaustion in her voice. We piled into her SUV, me, Jane, and Elena, while the cops hauled John from his wrecked car. He was conscious now, yelling nonsense about fixing everything, his forehead bloody. I turned away, my stomach twisting. The drive was silent, the hum of the engine filling the space where words failed us. At the station, it was chaos. Phones ringing, officers shouting, the smell of burnt coffee thick in the air. Mara led us to a cramped room with a metal table and flickering lights. Sit tight, she said, dropping a stack of forms in front of us. I'll be back after I deal with those clowns. She left, and Jane started scribbling, her pen scratching loud in the quiet. Elena stared at the wall, her jaw tight, and I just sat there, replaying the night. Nico's grip, Lydia's smirk, Vince's threat. The door banged open, and a new face walked in. Short, stocky, with a buzz cut and a badge pinned to his chest. Detective Pete Ramos, he said, his voice gruff. Mara's partner. You're the livestream girls, huh? I bristled at the nickname, but Elena spoke first. We're the ones who stopped them, yeah. Pete raised an eyebrow, dropping into a chair. Good work, but you've kicked a hornet's nest. John's got a little fan club, online weirdos who eat up his crap. Vince was their errand boy, but there's more out there. My throat tightened. More? Pete nodded, pulling out a tablet. We've been tracking John's Reddit buddies for months. Small group, maybe a dozen, all into that incel garbage. They're pissed you took him down. He tapped the screen, showing blurry profile pics. Angry usernames like Red Pill King and Alpha Fury. They're already posting about you, Rory. Revenge plans, mostly hot air, but we're not taking chances. Jane dropped her pen, her face white. They're after her because of me? Pete shrugged. Because of John. You're just collateral. Elena leaned forward, her voice sharp. And Nico? He's tied to this too? Pete hesitated, then nodded. Looks like it. Him and John were cooking something up, your blackmail pics, Morales, and Rory's lesson. Lydia's the money behind it, but we're still digging. I sank back, my head spinning. This wasn't just John's twisted game, it was a web, and I was caught in it. What do we do? I asked, my voice small. Pete rubbed his neck. Stay low. We'll put a car outside your place, Rory. You too, Morales. But if these freaks move, we might not catch 'em fast enough. Elena snorted. Great, so we're sitting ducks. Pete didn't argue, just stood. Mara's got your backs. Finish those forms. He left, and the room felt smaller, the walls pressing in. Jane reached for my hand, but I pulled away, too raw to let her in. I need air, I muttered, shoving out of the chair. Elena followed, silent but close, and we stepped into the station's buzzing lobby. Cops hustled past, but one figure stood out. A woman, mid-20s, with dyed purple hair and a nervous twitch. She was arguing with an officer, her voice high. I need to see Vince. He's my brother. I froze, grabbing Elena's arm. That's his sister? We edged closer, catching snippets. He didn't do anything wrong, she insisted, her hands flailing. John's the genius. Vince just helped. The officer sighed, steering her toward a bench. Wait here, Miss Hayes. Hayes. Vince Hayes. My gut twisted. Elena whispered, If she's with them, she knows something. I nodded, my mind racing. We need to tell Mara. Back in the room, Jane was still writing, her eyes red. I blurted it out. Vince's sister's here. She's defending John. Jane looked up, confused. Who's Vince? Elena filled her in. Her voice clipped, and Jane's face crumpled. This is my fault. I brought John into our lives. I wanted to snap, but Elena cut in. Blame gets us nowhere. We need to watch her. Purple hair, Hayes. She's a link. Mara burst in then, her face stormy. We've got a problem. Lydia's talking. Says John's group had a backup plan. Something about a drop tonight at the old mill. My heart sank. The mill was a crumbling ruin on the town's edge, a ghost story from my childhood. What kind of drop? Elena asked. Mara grimaced. Cash, maybe weapons. Lydia's vague, but Vince knows more, and his sister's out there stirring shit. I stood, adrenaline spiking. We have to go. If they're moving, we can catch them. Mara shook her head. No way, kid. You're civilians. Elena crossed her arms. We're targets. We deserve to end this. Jane piped up, her voice shaky. I'm coming too. I owe Rory that. Mara groaned, but her resolve cracked. Fine, but you stay behind me. Pete's rounding up backup. We piled into Mara's SUV again, the night pressing down as we sped toward the mill. My phone buzzed. Toby. Rory, I hacked Vince's cloud. He's got pics of the mill, maps, a list. Looks like a meetup. Be careful. I relayed it to Mara, who cursed. These idiots are organized. Elena gripped my hand, her palm sweaty. We've got this, she said, more to herself than me. The mill loomed ahead, its broken windows black against the moon. Shadows moved. 3, maybe 4 figures. Mara killed the lights, coasting closer. Stay here, she hissed, slipping out with her gun. But then headlights flared, Purple Hair's car roaring up behind us. They're here, she screamed, and the shadows scattered. Gunshots rang out, and I ducked, my scream lost in the chaos. Gunshots rang out, and I ducked, my scream swallowed by the roar of chaos. The air at the old mill tasted like rust and fear, the shadows twisting as bullets pinged off the crumbling walls. Jane yanked me down behind Mara's SUV, her nails digging into my arm, her breath fast and ragged. Rory, stay down, she hissed, her voice trembling. Elena crouched beside us, her tire iron slick with sweat, her eyes scanning the dark for Mara. The detective had vanished into the fray, her shouts lost in the gunfire. I clutched the flash drive Lydia had dropped earlier, its edges biting into my palm, a lifeline or a curse, I couldn't tell. Purple Hair, Vince's sister, who'd called herself Tina when she'd screamed at the cops, revved her car, headlights slashing across the mill yard. 3 figures bolted from the ruins, hoods up, one cradling what looked like a rifle. John's fans. Pete's warning echoed in my skull. A dozen online weirdos pissed I'd taken their hero down. Now they were here, real and armed, and my chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. They're coming for us, I whispered, my voice cracking. Elena gripped my shoulder, fierce. Not if we get them first. Mara's voice cut through, a sharp, drop it, followed by a grunt and a thud. I peeked over the hood. She'd tackled one of the hooded guys, his rifle skittering across the gravel. But Tina floored her car straight at Mara, tires screeching. Elena lunged up, hurling the tire iron. It smashed the windshield, glass exploding, and Tina swerved, crashing into a rusted silo with a deafening crunch. Mara rolled free, panting, and waved us over. "Move now!" We ran, Jane dragging me, Elena sprinting ahead. The two remaining fanboys fired wild shots, bullets kicking up dirt near my feet. I stumbled, my knees scraping raw, but Jane hauled me up, her strength surprising me. "I'm not losing you," she muttered, her eyes wet but hard. We ducked behind a stack of rotting pallets, the mill's skeleton looming over us like a judge. Mara fired back, her gun steady, and one of the shooters yelped, clutching his leg as he fell. The other bolted, disappearing into the trees. Sirens wailed closer, Pete's backup finally. Tina crawled from her wreck, blood streaking her purple hair, her face twisted with rage. "You bitches ruined everything," she shrieked, fumbling for a knife in her boot. Elena stepped forward, towering over her. "It's over, Tina. Your brother's done, John's done, Nico's done." Tina lunged, but Mara was faster, slamming her to the ground, cuffs snapping tight. "Stay down," Mara growled, her voice rough with exhaustion. The cops swarmed in, lights flashing, voices barking orders. Pete jogged up, his buzz cut glinting under the floodlights. "Nice mess you stirred up," he said, almost grinning. "Got 3 in custody, 1 running. We'll hunt him down." I sank against the SUV, my legs jelly, the flash drive still in my fist. Mara took it, her eyes narrowing. "This better have something good." Toby's voice buzzed through my phone, faint but triumphant. "It's got Nico's pics, bank records, Lydia's whole operation. You're golden, Rory." Jane hugged me again, tighter this time, her sobs shaking us both. "I was so stupid," she whispered. "I should have seen him for what he was." I hugged her back, my anger melting into something softer, relief, maybe love. "You're here now," I said, my throat raw. Elena watched us, her face unreadable, then nodded. "Family's messy," she said, and I knew she got it. Her own scars ran deep too. We stayed until dawn, the sky bleeding pink over the mill's wreckage. John sat in a squad car, his head bandaged, his shouts muffled behind glass, something about fixing the world. Nico slumped beside him, silent, his smirk gone, his future a cage. Lydia glared from another car, her perfect blonde hair a mess, her empire crumbling with every cop rifling through her files. Tina kicked at her cuffs, screaming Vince's name, but he just stared ahead, his grin replaced by a hollow look. His cleanup days over, his sister's loyalty wasted. The last fanboy was still out there, a ghost in the woods, but Mara swore they'd find him. I believed her. Back home, I stood on my apartment balcony, the town sprawling quiet below. Elena leaned against the railing beside me, her coffee steaming in the chill. "You think they'll stop?" she asked, her voice low. I shrugged, the weight of it all still pressing down. "Maybe not, but we stopped these ones." She smiled, small but real. "Yeah, we did." Jane was inside, crashed on my couch, her breathing steady for the first time in days. Toby texted, "Streams at 1,000,000 views, Rory. You're a legend." I didn't feel like one, just tired and alive. The lesson hit me slow. Trust's a gamble, but silence kills faster. John and Nico thrived in the dark, feeding off secrets, mine, Elena's, Jane's blindness. We broke that by speaking, by fighting, even when it hurt. They'd rot now, locked up or hunted, their plans dust. But us, we'd keep going, scars and all, because we had to. The world's messy, cruel, but there's power in facing it head-on. I looked at Elena, then the horizon. "What's next?" I asked. She sipped her coffee, eyes sharp. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it." An open road stretched ahead. Danger, maybe, but also possibility. The last fanboy was out there, and who knew what else? I wasn't naive enough to think it was over, but I wasn't afraid either. Not anymore. To anyone reading this, my blog, my truth, what would you do? When the dark comes knocking, do you hide or fight? Tell me. I've learned the hard way. Your voice matters. Use it.